Episode 596 is live on the 28th of November 2022. The Football World Cup, supposed to be the greatest spectacle or the greatest tamasha, you can put a name on it yourself, is supposed to unite people from all countries and all kinds of issues, and it's a distraction when 32 teams and more than 200 players who are supposedly popular in their own domestic tournaments and in their own cocoon of fanatics come together. Of course, a few teams have missed out this year, but those who are there have given a good performance so far. There have been some upsets, though I don't believe in the word upset. I think we should remove this word upset from our dictionary. You don't have an upset stomach. If you use the word upset, you are basically insulting the team which has beaten a slightly more better team. It should not work like that. We need to respect the team. Whether it's Morocco, Saudi Arabia, who are not popular in terms of their numbers and their fanatics, but they are good teams. They have reached this particular World Cup. But then, can a Football World Cup be without controversies? Magazines, newspapers have spent pages chronically writing about the controversies in this World Cup, whether it's headbutts or some footballer saying something against someone getting into trouble, or the governing body coming up with rules which don't allow players to practice certain things. There will always be a World Cup. There will always be the genuine behavior of fans. You will see fans slogging it out outside the stadium, fighting over their favorite team. They are confused whether a certain player is part of a certain domestic team or a club, and then that player becomes part of an international team. And how do I look at that? That always confuses people. But it's part of the narrative. Controversies are part of the Football World Cup narrative. It's a story, but for me, all these controversies are nothing more than publicity stunt. But there's something important, there's something missing, there's a missing link in this World Cup which I have been talking about for the past 1 month. There's a feeling of emptiness in this World Cup. You may have Messi and Ronaldo and Mbappe and all those individuals, but they don't matter. They're good players or bad players or goats or votes or whatever. I really don't care. There is something missing in this World Cup, an important missing link. India is not part of the World Cup. It's not a participant in this World Cup. And why? Because of the medieval policies of the Indian football administration. Indian players are not exposed to playing top teams. They hardly play top teams. Have you ever seen that the Football Association announces, no, we're going to have a couple of games against Brazil, we're going to have a couple of games against Egypt, we're going to have a couple of games against even Saudi Arabia because they are doing well in this World Cup? Can the Football Association of India take such steps and say, okay, let's move beyond the border of Asia, let's go beyond that, let's help our players get exposed to more international teams, like let's make it into an international friendly? Because if this doesn't happen, then how will you prove that Indian footballers are talented? Because for me, the Indian footballers are more talented than the so-called greats in this World Cup. Why are those individuals greats? Because they have been given airtime. Messi, Ronaldo and their contemporaries play in domestic tournaments all over the world. They have been doing that for 17 years. They have been getting airtime and they have done decently. They have played for almost every club possible. For their own country, for other countries' clubs, they get airtime. Their merchandise is sold. Their photos are flashed in newspapers and pseudo media time and time again. And once that happens, They become popular. On the other hand, Indian footballers don't get that kind of exposure, not even in our own country. And that's really shameful. We put all the onus on the other sport and we promote them like anything, but not. You have to promote them. They work hard, but they need airtime. Everybody needs some amount of airtime, some amount of mention in pseudo media, PPED media, and they are not part of any conversation. Therefore, we presume that they don't have the talent. Just give them that platform to play top teams. Whether they lose by 10-0 or make it 1-all in the end, we'll know that they are good because they're not exposed to international games. So international media doesn't know much of them. International audience doesn't know much of them. They're confined to the cocoon of Indian media who really don't care about them. And that is something which has changed. This medieval mindset has changed. It has to come from the Football Association of India. It has to come from the PPED media, pseudo media, whatever be the availability, put billboards of Indian footballers on every road possible. If India is playing Vietnam, promote it. If you don't, then you will say Indian footballers don't have talent. How do you know they don't have talent? They don't have the exposure. Just give them exposure, people will watch, they will be enamored, and we may forget Messi and Ronaldo and Mbappe and Neymar and all these people. We only remember them because they have been given airtime. Once our individuals are given airtime, we'll brush these so-called fake greats aside. And the Indian team, given the right exposure, which is not happening, which is a matter of shame, infrastructure that is good quality stadiums, huge stadiums, over 70-80,000 people watching you, good quality jerseys. The quality of Indian jerseys is even worse than the jerseys I would receive from school. As you all know, Wednesday was some kind of a day where you had to wear a different jersey apart from the normal school jersey. But when I look at Indian team jerseys, they are tight, they are poor quality, the players are sweating. How will they perform? You look at the jerseys of international teams, good quality. You can see that they are breathable. But Indian jerseys, it's as if they don't care. They've given it to the lowest company to make it. And that's something I do not agree with. That's something that has to change. If it doesn't, then I don't know what will happen. Once they are given the right infrastructure, the right exposure, good quality jerseys, good training time, the Indian team right now, which is there and in the future, can beat any team. I can tell you that this Indian team can beat any team. They just need the right exposure. They need to play more and more international teams. Once that happens, things will change. And the Football Association of India has to take the step. Who else will take the step? Something that they need to understand. If they don't, then Indian football is reduced to a heap of rubble. Because the Indian Soccer League or the Indian Super League, which has done well over the past 8.5 years, gets zero respect from the Indian PPED media. You ask anyone, do you know ISL? What's ISL? I watch English League, I watch Europa League, I watch Bundesliga. That's what people are going to say because those are being promoted like anything in PPED media, pseudo media, everywhere. And whatever little exposure the Indian Soccer League gets, it's always in some kind of trouble with the other I League, and whatever controversies are going there, it's too complicated to talk about it. They don't even give time to our domestic competition, and they rather give time to the foreign domestic competition. The matches here, they just get half a page, the size of this slide. But the foreign domestic competition, they get an entire page. The last page is for them. If something happens, the first page is for them. Indian PPED media gloriously talks about how foreign footballers have struggled and come here. Why don't you talk about Indian footballers? Why are you so hesitant? What's the shame? You won't get money on that. There is no ROI on that. It's a matter of shame, and if you don't do it, then nothing is going to happen. And let me tell you, Messi and Ronaldo are the most unskilled and untalented, just bit of luck. They got luck, but they are WOAT, worst of all times. They're not GOAT. I don't care if they get ballooned the over, because even that's subject to controversies, and it's, well, one can say it's kind of not correct. I don't think Messi and Ronaldo have anything. They don't have talent. They're just lucky to play. They've been playing for 17 years. They've manipulated people and they're getting the moolah. So they said, let's play. And sometimes by luck, they're able to score a goal. Like it came in the newspaper, Messi scored a goal, saved his team, and they may qualify for the next round, but they're not winning it. They could win, but according to me, they don't have the pedigree to win it. It's just a bit of luck. Messi's goal could be compared to Kohli's knock against a certain team, but India just made to the semi-finals, but that's something different. But I do not see Messi Ronaldo as anything talented. They're not talented. Let me just make that clear. So, the Indian team, the cricket team obviously, has landed in New Zealand over the past 1 week and they have been greeted by rains. The T20 Cup was marred by rains so much that out of 3 games, only 1 could be completed. 2 were affected by rains. And who do you blame? The scheduling individuals who scheduled it? Well, unexpected rains, unseasonal rains. If it's raining so much in New Zealand, why can't we borrow a bit of rain and have it in India? Because it's raining everywhere in the world except India. And we need a bit of rain in India just to cool the temperatures down. I wouldn't mind a bit of rain. I would love it. But the first game happened, and what all happened? India started well when the openers had a partnership over 120. When they were dismissed in consecutive overs, then I was a little disappointed in the way Iyer and Pant tried to take the game forward. They literally went into sleep mode. I was disappointed. Of course, one can say that someone like Pant is confused between 50 overs and test matches and 20 overs. He should not be. He has done well so far, so let's not be too harsh on him. He's a good player and he's my captain for the 2023 World Cup, and going forward, between him and Shreyas Iyer, one of them will be the captain or should be the captain, but we'll discuss those things in the next episode. India managed to score 307. They were really going slow, but they somehow accelerated and reached. And then New Zealand began their chase. It wasn't full of confidence. Then they ran into 2 individuals who have been India's nemesis for the past decade. Kane Williamson has been doing it. He does it in his sleep. He prefers 50 overs in test matches because it allows him to take time. He prefers a strike rate of 90-95 in 50 overs, and he'll go at 50-60 in test matches. And then comes Tom Latham, who has been the vice captain for a long time. He's been the interim wicket keeper to allow other individuals. And then this is not the first time someone like Tom Latham or Tom Latham himself has done what he did that day. He began in a manner in which you begin, and then he accelerated and he managed to score 140 of 100 balls. He just went after the bowling. You can say Indian bowling was weak, inexperienced. But what defines inexperience? You have to start somewhere. Yes, Arshdeep and Umran Malik together could have been a gamble. They could have added a more experienced bowler, but then the experienced bowler in someone like Bhuvneshwar Kumar was missing. They preferred him only for 20 overs. There was no Mohammad Siraj, so they had to go with whatever was available, and they did well. And New Zealand somehow just had a bit of luck. 4s and 6s were flowing. Small grounds, big grounds, well, it's equalization for everyone. And they just managed to reach that score, and everyone said poor bowling, poor tactics. Well, when the other team chasing in this is in this mood, and every shot they hit goes for a 4 or 6, you can bowl your best, but it doesn't work that way. And Umran Malik, I think he'll do well, but let's not get too excited. He's not the first 150 plus bowler. There were so many. When we were excited about someone like Varun Aaron, he's disappeared. Mohammad Shami was his 150 guy. He's disappeared to 135. So let's not get too carried away by Umran Malik, because this guy will understand in time. And I may have to go to 140, 145, even 130 when time comes. And that is something, it comes over time, over playing more and more. So I do not want to get into that discussion. As far as the team is concerned, well, it's a tricky choice. Hardik Pandya, the selectors think, is not fit for 50 overs. Otherwise, he could have been an asset. But then they have their own logic of not putting Pandya in the 50 over team. I don't know what's the logic, just to make sure it doesn't get injured. That's fair enough. But it's slightly skewed, and I don't like the idea. I would want Bhuvneshwar Kumar in the 50 over team. I would want Mohammad Siraj in the 50 over team. I would even want Ashwin in the 50 over team despite all the ages. But then we have Ashwin like individual in Sundar, so there is no problem. We have good couple of left arm all-rounders, so that would not be a problem. But that's something we have to address, and that's something we have to be strict about. So the first game went New Zealand's way, New Zealand led 1-0. When the second game happened, well, once again, rain made its presence felt. It just kept on coming, going. We reached 15 overs. India had scored well for 1-4-89 because they were restricted to around 29 overs aside. It was never going to happen. Rains came, rains stopped. Then it came, and then finally the match official decided enough is enough. We cannot tolerate this. And as far as rains and scheduling are concerned, well, if you're going to have matches, New Zealand has only 5 or 6 grounds. It's raining everywhere. So when it comes to game 3, I think rain is once again going to play a factor. And then no one can afford Roop's stadium at Roop because it's expensive. And then that's the beauty. And one player who has impressed me is Shubman Gill. And for me, he is someone who has the combination of two individuals currently playing, whom we call GOATs, who are now slightly getting into that mode of super senior citizens. You can guess who those two individuals are. Shubman Gill is good. I would want a Prithvi Shaw in the team. And right now we have this tournament called Vijay Hazare going, but empty grounds, no branding, no promotion. It's just an obligation that India has to conduct all these tournaments, and all the big people are not part of this team, which is very strange. I would have told all our players that before going for another tour, you have to play this tournament. But then, well, that's how things are. The more popular you get, the more you get to a higher pedestal. Ego comes into play. A lot of things come into play. That will happen with this team. So that can happen with Iyer and Pant one day. They will refuse to play domestic games, and that's the nature. Because why do we have tight schedules? I don't know. Why are we obsessed with the number 3? I don't know. You just want to play 350 overs, 3 test matches, nothing more than that. Why is that happening? I do not know. What is the obsession with number 3? Why can't we add 2 more? Why couldn't we had 6 ODIs instead of 3 T20s and 3 50 overs? Could have been much better. Of course, the 2023 World Cup is the focus. We all know what is going to happen there. We'll talk about it in the next. But the third game, expect rains to happen.
It's 18:30.
That's how things work in this profession. Bye.